Islam,
Islam, Grand
Nayefe,
Rising.
and Georgia Territory.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Today is June 18th, 1440 on the sun calendar, 1441 on the moon calendar, and 2020 on our Gregorian calendar, which is Gregorian in all lowercase letters. So welcome to the Moors, to the heirs, to all lands, all natural resources, and all commerce at America, Islam. So as it stands, we are in a very exciting time energetically. This week is going to be the solar eclipse and the summer solstice. We're excited about that. June 21st, which is Sunday. Mercury is going into retrograde, which invokes energies that begin with RE, such as revert, such as reversion of the state, return, such as returning the property of the heir, such as renew, Grand Rising, such as renew, which is renewal of our sovereign mind, such as reveal, revitalize, restore, reform, that's a good one, and any other words that you might that might come to mind when you think about Mercury retrograde. All of that we're moving into all of that right now. So the one thing that has I've been, like most of you, I go out onto the internet and I look for certain things and pull certain things up just to see, you know, I look at videos and different things like that. I'm going to mute just a few of the lines just in case if they come up on the meter. I go out and I look at videos and things like that. There's a couple more that have, and I was looking at some of the videos out there. Oops. Just a moment. I think I put. Let's see. Okay. All right. I look at some of the videos and things that are out there. And I've been seeing lots of them saying basically the same thing, you know, repeatedly the same thing. For example, there are some people out there who are, I don't know if you call it attempting to usurp or if you call it acting out our roles, or acting out what they know is really ours, because there's no way they could possibly think that they're the heirs to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. They know that is not the case because they never say that. They always say things that sound similar but different from that. So they know that they're not us. But I've seen several of them just that have been made in the last 2 weeks that have been talking about equitable titles and legal titles, okay? And that's going to be a little bit what we talk about tonight in terms of domiciles and conveyances and things like that. We know that we hold sovereign, equitable title to all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We know we hold that. And at any time, any of the heirs here at America can create sovereign title to any property at North America, you know, or any property at America, period. Okay, and if that title is in all lowercase letters, in red on Moorish government letterhead, which everyone should have copies of Moorish government letterhead. If you don't have copies of Moorish government letterhead and you are a Moorish American national, say something so that we can get the letterhead to you. The quickest way for you to get it is to go to the website and pull off some of the documents that have it, and then clear the documents and use the letterhead. That's the quickest way to get it. But the letterhead should be in lowercase letters. Some of it out there is still not changed over to lowercase letters. So if it's not changed to lowercase letters, then go ahead and write it up so that it is lowercase letters. Okay. And let me tell you, some have asked about the red ink. I'm going to put a few on hold because there's a little bit of registration of noise going on in the background of some of the lines. Red ink is land jurisdiction, okay? And that's why we use red ink. Blue ink is the sea jurisdiction. So when you're doing your documents, keep that in mind. Whenever you're talking about subjects, subjects are in blue, and then all corporation is black. All corporation stuff is in black. Okay. Grand Rising. And so we want to keep that in mind when we're doing our documents. But the things that I've seen in the videos is talking about how from basic trust law, number one, all the way to what has been the case from ancient times in the ancient records. Even basic trust law says what we're about to say now, which we knew was the case. But now we're hearing it from all over the place, that when sovereign equitable titles that we hold in our sovereign trust, and when I say we hold in our sovereign trust, all moors are part of the sovereign national, and it's actually a universal trust. All moors are part of that. We've been that from day one, since before we ever came through the Stargate. We've been a part of the universal trust, the universal trust of the Moabites and the Canaanites. Always been that. But when sovereign equitable titles that we hold in the sovereign trust meet the legal titles, so in other words, there are these entities such as the quote-unquote Queen of England and the quote-unquote Pope and their agents and principals such as the tax assessor and the quote-unquote title companies, etc. When those documents that they've been claiming our estate under, falsely of course, when those titles meet equitable titles, the trust that they are working from to create those deeds and all of that other stuff, that trust collapses, okay? And in the last few weeks, I would say probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've seen videos out there to include, and many of you have heard of this person in particular. Her name is Anna Von Wright, and she's put out some videos lately in the last couple of weeks, several videos in the last 2 weeks, talking about how in 2 weeks from now, or 2 weeks, at this time period, that the legal titles trust that they've been operating out of is going to collapse. It's set to collapse because it has met with equitable titles. And when that happens, Trust Law 101 says it, but also the hierarchy of trust and the hierarchy of authority also says that legal titles, all of the titles, the legal titles that were held in that fake legal trust revert back to the heirs who are holding the equitable title. And what that means is that, just one moment, just a moment. And if everyone would just kind of hang on with mute if you know that there's going to be noise in your background, that would help. And so what that means is that we're going to have a lot less resistance when it comes to those doing business as tax assessors and those doing business as title companies, et cetera, when it comes to sovereign equitable titles, okay? And again, when the sovereign equitable titles that we hold in our sovereign trust meet the legal titles held in the presumed legal trust that the corporations were holding, then the legal trust that they were using collapses, and all legal title then reverts back to the sovereign equitable title holders, which is all Moors. And at any time, we can create a valid, 100% valid, superior sovereign title to any land, and it's valid, and put it on the public record, and no one can refute it. No one. And they're aware of that. That's why. And we do it in affidavit form. We create our allodial titles in all lowercase letters, in red ink, because again, red ink is the land jurisdiction. Blue ink is the sea jurisdiction. So when you're talking about subjects, when you're talking about the tax assessor and all of those other places like that, when you're talking about the tax assessor and all of those people, what you want to do is put their names in blue. Put them in blue. And then when you talk about, when we're talking and we're just one moment.
They're probably going to show it again. That's probably going to.
And so when you're talking about doing allodial titles, sovereign titles, red ink for us and anything that we say, and then the minute we mention a tax assessor or anybody like that, and even on our envelopes that we send, we want to, just a moment, we want to make sure that we put them in in blue as well, okay? So when you're talking about like the tax assessor and or anybody, any realty companies or anybody that is a subject to you, put them in blue. And then everything that we do is in red. And in the video that I did with the mailing piece that we did, the mailing video, we did put it that way in the mailing video. Okay. So you could see that our Moorish American consulate label was in red. And then when we talked about whoever we were sending it to, if we're sending it to a corporation, it's in black. If we're sending it to a subject, it's in blue. Okay? And so now that we know that the work that's been done by all Moors, the demonstrations that the Moors have been doing, that's all Moors. Everything that's been done has absolutely gotten us to this point now where the legal titles, even those cannot argue with equitable title anymore. They've been attempting to present us with a little resistance, but even now that's not even a thing anymore. They're not even real, and it doesn't exist. See? So we can begin to venture into the demonstrations where domiciles are concerned, knowing that they've gotten into subject status like they're supposed to, okay? And if you need any, some people like to hear that from other people. There are some videos by someone named Anavon Wright out there in the last 2 weeks, and in several of those videos, of course, they're attempting to claim, you know, that they're Americans, et cetera, and we know that that's a play on words. Whenever they say American, they're saying American with a capital A, which is not really an American. and they say American state citizens, etc. So that's them getting into their rightful status because they know they're not the heirs. But look at some of those videos that have been out. She's done some interviews these last couple of weeks, and in those interviews, she's talking about the that whole legal trust that they've been operating out of collapsing to the equitable titles, and how all of the legal titles that they were claiming now go to the equitable title holders, which is no one but the heirs, no one but the Moors. Okay? And so, to me, that's great news, because it just proves that everything that we've been doing is right. Now, how did that happen? What was the dynamic that made that happen? The dynamic that made that happen is when equitable courts were brought back on and operable on the land, which is the Moorish American Consular Court. The court actions that the Moors are doing, which are done regularly. We're having court actions done almost every day, and we love it, by different Moors in different territories. Some are repeat, etc. And so what we're seeing all across the board is affirmation that everything that we're doing is absolutely working. And again, the how can I say it? The equitable title holders are actually the originators of equitable titles. Okay? Always have been and always will be. And at any time, we can draw up whatever titles we need for whatever we're doing and put it on the public record. And it is 100% valid, and no one can refute that. No one. And they know it. So we're going to be seeing more of that, and I'm going to be doing some demonstrations as well with equitable, with the sovereign titles, because I don't even use the word equitable. I use the word sovereign because that's what we are. And I'll be putting everything that's being done out there. I'll be putting it out there on the public record so you can see, just like with a lot of the demonstrations that have been done in the past. So another quick something that I wanted to bring up with regard to the names, okay? Those people doing business as citizens, in other words, those names are one capital letter at the beginning and all lowercase letters after that, okay? Those names, in many instances, those who have those names reference them as trade names, okay? And they say ridiculous things like, I'm trademarking my trade name. Well, what they don't know is that the language that they're using indicates that they're consenting to be a slave. The reason that it's called a trade name is because it is used in the slave trade. That's what the slave trade is. It's a title. It's a process whereby you give the property a title, a trade name, and then you put that trade name on the stock market and you trade it. Whatever that is attached to that name is put on the stock market and traded. And so that's another reason why we terminate all corporate contracts. It's necessary to do that because it's important that we make it clear that we are not any name in all capital letters. Or we're not even any name where there's one capital letter and all lowercase letters. Okay. Are there any questions about titles, domicile titles, conveyance titles, because those are two processes right there that we're going to be moving into now that we have affirmation that the things that we've done have completely just put everything that needs to be in subject status in subject status. We have that affirmation from many different places. And so are there any questions about that and what you need in terms of domiciles and first aligning your paperwork properly? Because that's what we want to do now. We want to take it in strategic order and put the proper paperwork on the public record before you make any moves. And the proper paperwork is always going to start with name change and judicial proclamation, as well as a termination of all corporate contracts, as well as a just a moment, let me get rid of that, as well as a declaration of trust. Okay, so those things right there for starters. That's where you start with any demonstration. I would suggest that be the starting place. The starting place is always going to be sovereign, bloodline, and birthright name change. Okay, and that's a simple page or a page and a half document. It's on the Moorish American Consulate website, www.moorishamericanconsulate.org, and it's the name change and judicial proclamation document. It should be in all lowercase letters in red, and that's the starting. That's the foundation for the demonstration that we do. Okay, so let me check the chat real quick and be sure that we
Islam?
Islam Empress, go ahead.
Yes, with regard to the process, I know that there's Moors, some of them are doing a lot of different things. I was helping print out something for one of the other Moors because their printer went out, and they have a document called No Bills Due. And the reason I question that is because it's more, when I read through it, it's basically talking about charging off debts. Okay, and I just wonder if that's even something that we want to even get into, or even, I've been through that process before, and I mean, it's just the language of it. So
yes, okay. So what that document is saying is that that can be fixed at any time. The documents are, the reason we do them the way we do them is so that the Moors can edit them, because we know that document was put out about a year and a half ago, maybe. Oh, okay. And since then, the ancestors have given us sharper tools to work with, more accurate tools to work with. It's not that that one is not effective. It's not necessary, but those who've been using it have said that it's working. And we don't want to, and really what's happening is, with that particular document, when we wrote it, it was written because we had done the lien in 2018, August of 2018. We liened the service corporation, and we were transferring all debt to them and saying they have the debt, we don't have the debt. And in reality, that's true. So we had another instrument on the public record that the debt could be moved to. Okay. And those who do administrative work already know how that works. But see, discharging debt is not the same as that. Discharging debt, people talk about House Resolution 192 and all of that stuff. That is not even referenced, not even one time in that document, because that's not what we were doing. We put the number of the lien in there, the tracking number of the lien, and proof of delivery of the lien that we did on the service corporation, and we said that's where the debt goes. And in reality, that is actually correct. Even in the Universal Commercial Code process, if you do a universal commercial code affidavit, a universal commercial code 3 affidavit, that affidavit makes it so that you can transfer, you can say, okay, I did a universal commercial code 1 affidavit against whomever, whatever corporation, and now this universal commercial code 3 says that whoever it is that I'm getting something from, they can post the debt to the universal commercial code 1. Okay? So that's yes. Yes. Okay. So it's not discharging debt, it's actually just assigning the debt to where the heirs want the debt to go, because we don't have any debt, so we don't have to really, debt is not something that has to come to us and touch us first and then go someplace else. Corporations, get your debt together. That's y'all's debt, so deal with it. You know. Okay. And that's how we keep it right out there with them.
The very last line, it says, and it says to what companies are now put on notice that all debts are to be charged off pursuant to the stipulated and incorporated herein acts. I'm sorry. Someone adapt after, yeah.
They may have put that on there, and you know, if that's the demonstration they want to do, they're free to do that demonstration. Sovereigns can do whatever demonstrations they want to do. That is not something that we put in the initial original document. And then when we gave the original document, it was a Word document specifically so that they could edit it. Like we do the name change and all the other documents that we put out there, we put them out there as editable documents so that they can change them at will. You know, because some of the sovereigns have information that other sovereigns don't have. You know, that's true. And they may want to add that information to it. So, you know, we just provide the basic template, basically, and then we let the heirs do what they do according to their study, because the demonstration is absolutely theirs to do. Right. And we don't ever want to hamper that or hinder that or make it so that they're stuck in a template that they cannot use the way they want to use it, because they know what their individual demonstrations are. You know. Right. It just one of the issues is that sometimes there's newer Moors who are new to this. Sometimes they're getting things from other people, and they're just using it. They're not really, you know, they're not. You know, Empress, they will learn to study. They will learn to study over time, because our ancestors are very generous with us. Yeah. Generally, when Moors do that, when they first come in, they're really just, a lot of times Moors come in because they're in a jam and they're trying to get themselves out of it, and they heard about the Moors and they realize they're a Moor, etc., and they use those documents, and our ancestors are generous with us. They will allow these documents to work for a little while, just to give them some breathing room. And then they have to go back and study, because then that same issue will come back and say, okay, you did that, and that's good. We've had time to study it, and it looks like you need to take that to another level. So then they start saying, okay, well, what's the next level? That's what the Grand Rising is all about. It's finding out what that next level is and then doing it. But they're always given breathing room, especially when the energies are right. That's a good point, Empress. Good point. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I yield. Okay. Yes. Islam. The conversations that I've had lately, just on all fronts, it has been that Moors who are on one level are wondering why the Moors that are not on the same level that they're on are doing what they're doing. And it's becoming clear to me, because I used to be the same way. I used to do that. I used to think, well, we don't have to do all of that stuff. It's not necessary. We don't. But there are some Moors that come in and they're accustomed to working out their soul salvation. So they want to see line upon line, precept upon precept. They want to see the processes. They want to do each step because they understand why they have to do that step, you know. Whereas some of us do just a broad sweeping something and we stand on that, you know. it just depends on where we are in our demonstrations and in our understanding of Moorish science. And all of that is beautiful to me, all of it. Some Moors feel like they need a notary, or something like that, when the rest of us know we don't need a notary. Notaries don't have the authority to sign our documents, But some feel like, okay, I can stand on this demonstration if I have a notary sign it. Well, a notary cannot overrule our sovereign status, but it's best to have competent documents when you're doing your demonstration. And some have to learn that their sovereignty is overarching over all of that, and they don't need the Secretary of State to authenticate anything, because he can't authenticate anything. He's not even authentic. So, but you just let them go through the steps that they want to go through, and then when we're discussing those things with Moors, we say, if you feel like that's what you need to do, then terminate all corporate contracts and then do it, if that's what you feel comfortable doing, because I'm not doing your demonstration, you are. And you have to have the confidence to stand on it, But after a while, they realize that no one has the authority to sign sovereign documents but other sovereigns. No one has the authority to say, that we can't do it this way or we can do it that way or whatever the case may be. No one has that authority. Only the heirs have that authority to do whatever they're doing, So, are there any other questions? Justice Dearmore, do you want to, I heard you typing, that's why I heard you typing that you were really hitting those keys, Justice Dearmore. So if you want to say a little bit about that, go ahead, Justice Dearmore. It says, if you want a fake to authenticate, this is what he put in the chat, if you want a fake to authenticate your not fake document, it is your right to contract. Oh, boy. Islam, Justice Dearmore.
That's it. Because what we do is we do the documents and we do them to the level that we know. So if somebody feels that the authentic documents they have need to be authenticated, which means they are not good enough to authenticate it, so they're going to go to a faker.
Yeah.
Who is already discredited who they said they would not work with once they made their proclamation declaration. So that's the reason for that, because I wanted to make sure that I totally backed up the statement you were saying, because it is absolutely so.
Yeah. Well, and that's thank you, Justice Dearmore. That's why we tell them terminate all corporate contracts first, and they may not understand the strength that is derived from terminating all corporate contracts before they do any demonstrations, but they'll get it down the way. They'll understand why that's so important. Because even then, if you get a Secretary of State, quote unquote, to sign something or authenticate, quote unquote, something, because authenticate is not even a real word when you're talking about sovereigns. Everything is authentic that we do from the get-go because it has the nature of the sovereigns. But if you get him to sign something and he's saying, and then he attempts to say, well, now you have to take it down to this department and pay them $140 filing fee. Well, you don't have any contracts with him. You just told him to do something. You gave him a command, and he has to follow the command. And then you don't have to do any of that other stuff. But that's why we tell Moors you don't have to go in and talk to these people at all. Send your documents, and then get with those in your nation if you need other autographs or some type of stamping and approval or whatever, validation, whatever, because, some new sovereigns feel that they need that validation from other, someplace else that's outside of them. And, we honor that they feel that way at first, but after a while, we have to tell them, and we tell them from the beginning, we'll sign it, but you don't need us to. You're sovereign. We'll sign it, we'll stamp it, we'll seal it, but your stamp and seal is even higher than the ones that we have because it's your right red thumbprint. Red is land jurisdiction, red ink. The color of our flag. Our flag says land jurisdiction. That's why it's important to fly your flag. Because it's red. And no, we are not sovereign citizens because you can't be both. Either you're sovereign or you're a citizen. And the citizens know that. So, you know, there is
Islam. It's Tikwa Saunders L. I have a question in regards to the conveyances and domiciles. I was wondering because I'm trying to figure out, are we still going with the procedure that's on the website? With
For
the
those
documents?
who want to go with that procedure, you can go with that procedure. Okay. The website is a place where you can go and get basic procedures and information and processes for you to study and then determine how you're going to stand on your demonstration, okay? But one thing that sovereigns do is study. We don't do anything without looking at everything and seeing, okay, this says this, but according to my studies, it should say this. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to put it in affidavit form, and I'm going to demonstrate that.
Exactly.
You know, the things that we are doing, they don't teach you in the education camp. We're getting the things that we're getting from each other and from studies and from the ancestors and the Akashic records that are within us. And it's working like nobody's business. It's indisputable, undisputable. And that's how we know that we are who we say we are. Because no school sat us down and said, you all need to originate your own titles to the land. No, no education camp said that. No education camp said that we had that authority, you know. So that's a good question, Empress. It's important that we know our sovereign status is everything. It's everything. Our nationality is everything. And then from that foundation, you can do your demonstrations however you want to do it. When you see the demonstrations, either on the website or the ones from videos that have been done in the past, take the information in and then do the study on it. And then fix it and tweak it according to how you like it and how you feel comfortable, because you got to stand on those demonstrations, you know, as do we all. But the vast amount of information that's out there right now has come from demonstrations that were done and the way those demonstrations turned out. And then, okay, now we see that this is working and that's working, so let's do this and let's add this to it and change it and fix it and, you know, and do what sovereigns do, you know. So, and I see in the chat, noble title is a land title as well. Yes, absolutely. We are the land. We are the natural resources. We are the commerce. We're all of that. There's no, we're the vast estate. We are the living, breathing vast estate. And that's why we can create sovereign titles and no one can dispute them. So we're excited to hear that the fake trust that those who were claiming deeds and all of that and claiming land and claiming property as if they had some authority to do so, they're not going to be able to do that anymore, because the apparatus and the conveyance methods by which they've been doing such fraud has collapsed. You know, we're excited about that because that's where a lot of the issues that we've had where domiciles and conveyances are concerned come in at, you know. And where domiciles are concerned, and I've said this several times before, but I'll say it again, when it's time for us to do demonstrations where domiciles is concerned, which is any time we choose, okay, we can do those demonstrations now or later. When it's time, you'll know in your spirit that it's time. And the ancestors will give you everything that you need so that you're so calm and you're so peaceful about the demonstration that there will be no doubt in your mind that this is the right thing to do. And then you'll do the demonstration. You won't feel in a hurry. There won't be any need for you to feel like you're under any pressure or anything like that. And you won't have, there will be little to no resistance. And that's the point we're getting to right now, is those barriers that were seeming barriers, presumed barriers, because they were never really barriers. But those presumed barriers that had it so that we could not even access domiciles because we need a roof over our heads here. Those things are fading into naught. I mean, the first thing that they would do, and I'll prove that, the first thing that they would do if we would come with our sovereign titles and things, and then we say, okay, we're ready to go to the domicile. The first thing done is someone picks up the phone and calls 911, and here comes policy enforcers. Well, what's happening with the policy enforcers across the land? There's really kind of no need for them. Because when the war energy leaves the land, there will be no need for any of that. What did we do before they got here? Because there was a time when there was no need for jails and policy enforcers on our land. What did we do then? We were very peaceful. Everything, yes, absolutely, in the chat, they're being eliminated. They're actually stepping down of their own, seemingly of their own. They're stepping down because the energies are right among the heirs. And when the energies are right among the heirs, listen, all it took was for us to unify peacefully and focus on nation building. And all of that other stuff was going to go by the wayside. All barriers must fall when we are unified, when we're peaceful, and we're focused on nation building, which is what we're doing now. There's no energy stronger than that. A whole nation of sovereigns, not just one sovereign, not just two sovereigns, not just 10 or 20, but thousands and thousands and thousands of sovereigns, unified. Yeah, there's a wayward here or there, wayward, sovereign here or there who's whatever, not in alignment with the energy, but they're still sovereign. We still honor their sovereign status, We still honor their sovereign status. We honor the fact that they can say whatever they want to say, and then when they have relieved themselves of whatever energies it is that's causing them to say those things, then they can come right on back. And we're right here to assist. That's what we do as a nation, filled with sovereigns. That's a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of authority and a whole lot of power. And there's no power stronger. None. In existence, there's no power stronger. And where we're going to be going from here, I'm hoping that many of you have seen the sovereign documents whereby we have made it clear and proclaimed that not only are we the imperial divan, not only are we that, but we're also the sovereign governors, we're the sovereign postmasters, And we've talked about the postmaster piece. We're the sovereign presidents. We're the sovereign mayors. We're the sovereign territorial government. We're the sovereign personam jurisdiction government. We're the sovereign subject matter government and court. And those documents have been placed out there on the public record. I'm hoping that everyone has had an opportunity to look at the documents. Many of them are written in ancient English. So as you know, ancient English is phonetic. So all you have to do is read it the way it sounds, and you'll understand it. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at those documents and then draw those documents up for yourself, because all Moors are sovereign governors and sovereign presidents and sovereign mayors and sovereign CEOs and sovereign law enforcement and sovereign provost marshals, etc. There is a couple of things in the chat that I do want to mention. And if anyone's having any court actions this week, let us know. Justice Turu Bey is saying if there are any Moors near Atlanta, Georgia territory, please email him. His email is TURUBAY1, the number 1, @gmail.com. He says we have work to do. Islam Justice Turu, near Atlanta, Georgia territory. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Justice
Janaya. Yes. This is Justice Janaya. I just wanted to mention that I would like to try to do a mock court at least once a week. So anybody wanting to practice, get in touch with me, and we can get it set up so that we can have more court actions. I yield.
Islam. Empress Janaya, this is Melo. I sent you an email. Angela Smith Bay, she scheduled a mock court, and I sent you an email to be in on that, and I think she posted it also. But I'll put it in the chat. It's for tomorrow, the 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'll put it in the chat. Okay.
Yes,
okay,
please.
So that's 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right?
Right. So that'll be 12:12. Right. Okay.
12.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Empress Janaya, are you on the computer? Can you see the chat?
Yes, I'm on the computer.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure you could see the chat.
The chat.
Yeah, the chat. The chat. Just in case someone put something in the chat that, Yes, I think you message. Okay. Okay. Islam. Let's see.
Islam.
Islam, yes.
Islam, yes. It's Lamont Maurice L. calling from District of Columbia, Republic Territory. Just wanted to share something. 2013, I actually made claim to my inherited estate in the territory known as Montgomery County, Maryland. Just happened to have a $1 million mansion on it. They threw me all over the news, saying, calling me a squatter, saying that, I burglarized the property and all this, that, and the third. Many people may have heard of it. What I did was I enforced the Constitution. And they didn't put out there that, all in the news and the media, that the case was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. So for all those that have mortgages, that have deeds, those are all colors of title. And the two highest titles to have in regards to property is allodial, and as far as land, is aboriginal. That's the highest title. There's no title higher than aboriginal title. And the only people that can have it is the aboriginal, indigenous, Moorish American nationals of the land. And that was shown. So enforcing the Constitution works. The reversion of a state, anyone, needing to know what reversion is, refer to your Black's Law Dictionary 4th or 5th edition. Look up the term reversion, and that will be done under Article 22 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the United States of North America and the Moroccan Empire, 1836, which is a mandate. It's not a contract, it's a mandate. It's a court order issued from the Moroccan government here in North America in the state known as the City of New York. The Empire State, which is the City of New York, which is where the late emperor sat. And that's where he issued that mandate. It was a court order. So yes, we are the sovereigns. And yes, while they're on this land is under binding international treaty law. And they all have oaths and obligations to uphold and support it. So enforcing the Constitution and that treaty, it works hands down. I also got 2 cases that I posted actually on my website dealing with traffic, and both cases were dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. And just to show, because there's a lot of people out there that, especially Europeans, a lot of them, because we have different statuses, so a lot of them are promoting that we're not a party to the Constitution. That's incorrect. We are the posterity that's mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution, where it says, and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. They're talking about us. Because we, the people of the United States, was the Continental Congress, 35 Moors, sovereign Moors. And then the 20 Europeans were delegate representatives of the several states of the Union. But we were the majority in that Continental Congress. So that Constitution is a security agreement. It's also an insurance policy that we are to hold and them liable to whenever they break it. Because as long as they're on this land, they have to abide by that Constitution. So I just wanted to put that out there. Constitutional enforcement, treaty enforcement works. Islam nobles, Islam.
And what's your appellation, Justice?
Lamont Maurice L. You can put Lamont Maurice L in Google. You'll see the slander. This was back in 2013. It was dealing with property in Montgomery County.
And what territory were you in, Justice?
This was the District of Columbia Republic Territory and the Maryland Republic Territory. That's why I'm in.
Thank you for that information. We're so honored to have you, Justice Lamont, because we need to hear from the Moors who've been doing this for a lot longer than we have about the awesome, groundbreaking, foundational work that you did. We need to hear so that we can give you your high honors for clearing a path for us so that we can do the work that we're doing as well. That's
Islam,
beautiful.
sister.
We're so honored that you're here. And thank you for giving us your story. We need it. We need to hear it. And you said something very profound there. All of it was profound. What stood out for me was when you said that the Sultan gave a court order.
Absolutely.
Our court, yes. A sovereign court, there's no authority higher than a sovereign court. Original indigenous sovereign court. That's Islam.
Islam. We can also refer to Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Look up the term court. And then you'll see under international law, court. Under international law, it's defined as the person and suit of the sovereign. Also, the place where the sovereign sojourns with his regal retinue. Regal retinue means royal following, wherever that may be. And then under court, you'll see practice. And it's going to say an organ of the government. So court is not the building. Court is the paperwork that is issued by the sovereign and the sovereign's royal following, wherever that may be. That's court.
Yes, teach. In other words, everywhere we go is court.
Absolutely.
The sovereign jurisdiction is the heirs. The jurisdiction stays with us because it's in our blood.
Absolutely.
The sovereign jurisdiction is in our blood. Go ahead, Justice.
Absolutely. And in 2012, I was with Brother Taj Tariq Bey and Roz when they came down to the Prince George's County territory. That's in Maryland. And I was charged to do consular affairs and consular functions because I actually used to work for the United States Department of State. And my mom worked at consular affairs office for over 20 years. So I've been meeting ambassadors, ministers, and consuls for a long time. I just didn't know didn't know how at the time it applied to us, but I definitely knew the principles and the concepts of it. So when I came into this information and this movement in 2011, I started to implement those things that I've learned back in 2002, 2001, working at the United States Department of State, which they deal with international affairs. So I implemented those same processes as consul and minister, speaking on behalf of other Moorish Americans that were incompetent at that time back in 2012 and were getting the cases dismissed. Now, I was told that they will try to say, now this never happened to me, but they will try to say, this is what I was told, that if you try to enforce the Constitution in their tribunals, they'll tell you, do not speak on the Constitution, or you're not a party to the Constitution, or you don't have a right to bring that up in this courtroom. Well, like I said, I've never experienced that, but if in an event that they do that, then you most definitely get the oath of office and file it in the case and get the true test copy of that oath of office that after it was filed, and you bring it up. You hold it up and you tell them that you are holding him to his oath and obligation. See, they only deal with fear and scare tactics. That's it.
Yes.
When your paperwork precedes you, Islam. When your paperwork precedes you, and my bad, brother. Islam,
no, go ahead. Hold on, brother. Let the brother finish. Justice Lamont, go ahead and finish, and then we'll let the justice come after you. Go ahead, Justice Lamont.
When the paperwork precedes you, that's the square that you're standing on. So if it's a writ of quo warranto, which means by what authority, and you're challenging their jurisdiction, when you make that special appearance on the information, or in other words, ex rel, the man of straw that they're coming to that they're bringing to the court under color of law, you're standing on the quo warranto. And if it's the default judgment, which is a judgment by their default, which means you're the judge per the 10th Amendment with reservation of powers clause. So the power, if you've shown that the delegation was not given to them under Article 3 of the Constitution, because that's where judicial powers come from. If it was not delegated to them, then it is reserved to the people. So that means you are exercising the judicial powers over your estate in that case, whether it's dealing with your person, whether it's dealing with your property, or whether it's dealing with your effects. That's common law, common sense. Who else is the judge over your person, property, or effects other than you? If it has not been proved that they are exercising Article 3 consular jurisdiction, which they gave up in 1956. So the power is reserved to you. And then you order them to dismiss the case in the default judgment. When you make that special appearance, that's what you're standing on. Nothing else needs to be said. You're standing on jurisdiction and the fact that they don't have it. Now, the most they will do is they will order for the case to get continued. Or they'll give a window and say, okay, well, look, because I done been through it all. And they will give a window and say, we're going to go ahead and dismiss this case because this case has been going on for too long. They will never admit that they don't have jurisdiction. However, the writing, what's filed in the record, the record speaks for itself. The record speaks for itself. And then you can get a true test copy or a certified copy of your default judgment under Article 4, Section 1, full faith and credit clause of the Constitution. Full faith and credit must be given to that default judgment. Even if it's a quo warranto and you challenge their jurisdiction, full faith and credit must be given to it because you got the certified copy of it pulled from the record. And
now,
that alone,
you know what, we could when we do our own judgment and back our judgments by that, and back our, you know, the judgments, because see, all Moors are justices and judges, and when we back our own judgments like that, that's you know, you can't move when that happens.
They cannot move
There's
forward.
no way.
Islam is very I want to speak.
If you all have the time, you can go on www.enforcetheconstitution.org. That's the website that the judgments are placed on. You click on judgments and liens, and you can scroll down. You'll see my traffic case in D.C. was dismissed by default judgment, and you'll see my traffic case in Maryland was dismissed by default judgment. I put up the true test copy, the certified copy of both default judgments, and I put up the case summary from the clerk's office showing that the case was dismissed. And in D.C. they call it dismissed. In Maryland they call it nulli prosecute. But they were both dismissed by way of the default judgment for lack of jurisdiction. And you'll see the default judgment in Maryland says order. We don't do motions. Of course, everyone on the call, if you're new, then okay, I understand. But everyone else on the call should know that we don't do motions. We don't do petitions. We do orders. We do commands. Islam, because like the sister said, we are the justices of the land. Jesus means justice, according to 101. Moorishe, people of America, right? Holy Quran question, right? 101. Jesus means justice. We're the justice of the land.
Islam.
Article 3 is our jurisdiction. Consular court, they gave it up. We didn't give ours up. That treaty is still binding.
Sure didn't. Our consular courts are in action all week long, and weekends and all of that. Whenever the heirs do them, they do them. Ultimately, we know we don't even have to go to their court. And that's why we honor the work that you've done, is because even in their court, you were able to do what you did, to be victorious there. But and now, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That's awesome demonstration right there. That is awesome.
Now, the only thing that I was missing, now at the time, there was a lot of people with me in the territory. However, the individuals weren't competent. A lot of them were just there to get the benefit. What I was missing was other competent active Moors to come to my aid when they kidnapped me, because I got kidnapped the whole 2013. I was in and out. I was kidnapped. And because they, you know, my brothers and sisters couldn't come to my aid, and they was taunting me. The police were taunting me like, "Where's your nation now? Where's your people? How come no one's coming to your aid?" And that's because they didn't know how. We were even traveling with our own Moorish American tags, and the police were not bothering us because we put all of their agencies on notice according to consular notification and access. That the manual that was put out by United States Department of State back in those times. There's a new updated manual, 2018. It's called the Consular Notification and Access. And they were not pulling us over until they found out everybody was not as competent as the person that did the document, which was me. So it's dangerous to do these types of things if, one, we're not together and we're not organized, and two, we're not competent. So it's dangerous. So we need each other in these days, especially for consular affairs to carry out these consular functions for our people and the citizens, because a lot of them are going to help us more than we help ourselves. But
can't nobody help us more than we can help ourselves. But it's good to have some assistance. You know, that's what they're supposed to be here for anyway, to serve and assist the Moors. You know, Islam. Beautiful demonstrations there, Justice Lamont. We appreciate you sharing that information because it's valuable as well. Go ahead, Justice, the noble that's wanting to say something.
Islam, this is Noble Adil. I'm one of the assistants along with Brother Lamont L. in the Maryland Territorial Republic. How you all doing?
All is well.
Islam.
All is well.
Islam.
Right. Good. One of the things I'm not sure. I just got on the call a little late. Got the notification from Brother Lamont L. Probably a few minutes back. I wasn't sure if Brother Lamont, if you had made mention, because I think it's very important that we all really comprehend exactly what we're referring to when we're talking about enforcing that Constitution. Because if you really studied the history of what the United States Service Corporation has done, they have had 4 or 5 different variations of their fictitious entity. And with every single one of those emergings, they have also established another form of a constitution. So the one in which, Brother Lamont, you actually had put them under the obligation of supporting was the Republic Constitution, the North American Republic Constitution for the United States at North America. You have to be specific when you're talking to that, because that's the trickery of what's kind of getting a lot of us caught up in their spider webs, is that we don't realize is that they have 4 or 5 different variations of constitutions that have been constructed every single time that they've remerged another entity. Now you're talking about 1861, and they breached their obligation to the Republic Constitution. And then you're talking about, again, what, 1910 and 1913. That's when Noble Drew Ali established the Old Canaanite Temple. Then you're talking about, again, what, 1925, when he had registered the Moorish Holy Temple of Science as a civic organization. And then again, with the religious affidavit that was structured in 1928 with the Moorish Science Temple of America. See, and then they crashed in 1933. So you got to remember that every single time that they've emerged another United States corporation shell, they also reemerge with another constitution. So when you're talking in terms of
that makes our job a lot easier, because the only one we need to point them to is the original. That's
exactly.
We need to talk about.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Now,
our job is easier with all the fraud. Go ahead, Justin.
But the only thing with that is that you want to make sure, if you're dealing with addressing them in regards to land or estates. Now, you know, in 1913 is where they actually turned allodial titles into mortgages and deeds. So if you want to be specific,
they actually let me add just a little bit of clarity there. They did not touch the allodial titles. All they did was overlay the allodial titles with some fraudulent paperwork. But the allodial titles are still there. Go ahead, Justin.
Which is the reason why, if you're addressing that United States or any of their subsidiaries or alias, make mention of that one, 1913, all right? But then you're also still holding that one, because they would construct the Constitution which is agreeable. So you want to hold them still to the Republic North American Constitution for the United States at North America. You want to hold them to that and the treaties. Now, I just want to share one thing with you all in terms of when we all are familiar with Article 6 of that Constitution. Now, if anyone is familiar with Article 6 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Now, Article 6, it reads, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to His Majesty, the citizens shall immediately be set at liberty and the effects restored, and in like manner, if any more not a subject of the dominion shall make prize of any of the citizens of America or their effects and bring them into any of the ports of His Majesty, they shall immediately be released, as they will be considered as under His Majesty's protection. I want to shine light on that, because if you go into Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, and if you look up the word majesty, majesty reads royal dignity, a term used of kings and emperors as a title of honor. Now, if you go and do the research and look up the word dignity, and this is going to be Black's Law Dictionary, and it's on page 543. In English law, an honor, a title, station, or distinction of honor. Dignities are species of incorporeal hereditaments in which person may have a property or estate. So Article 6 is basically saying, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects, what are their effects? The examples of their effects are the ins legis, their driver's license, their social security cards,
absolutely,
their birth certificates, their titles of origin on your conveyances. All of those are the effects. See, they shall be set at liberty because you are under His Majesty's protection. That means that you are actually royal dignity. That is by honor and bloodline. So those instruments have no reason to be attached to you in dishonor for whatever. But by consent, if you just not acknowledge that, then you're giving way to that. So that's the reason why that Constitution and that treaty is extremely important when you're enforcing it, because you're dealing with natural law. You're dealing with universal law and principles then. They're under their construct, they're dealing with artificial entities. And that's the reason why they've hidden policies and fictitious statutes under the guise of being law. But it's only under their jurisdiction, under their instruments that they constructed. So it's extremely important that you really deal with the specifics of it, because like I said, they've really had this thing kind of tangled up that kind of tripped a lot of us up when we're dealing with playing the word games and also knowing exactly who to address and what to address.
Now, I have a question for you, and it's basically kind of a rhetorical question because I kind of sort of know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway, just so that we all can hear, because you have a significant amount of experience. Have you seen a signed copy of the treaty with any signatures on it? Have you ever seen a copy of the treaty with signatures from Moors and signatures from the United States or anything anything close to that? Have you ever seen a signed copy with signatures on it?
It was a royal seal. It's written in Arabic, and it was a royal seal from the emperor. The treaty is a court order. It's a mandate. It's not so to put it like this: whenever one nation wants to do commerce with another nation, intercourse, commerce, foreign relations. It's called foreign relations and intercourse under Title 22 of the United States Code. There must be a treaty in place. If the receiving country, meaning the receiving nation, is the nation that the foreign nation is attempting to do business within, so they're going to come, the foreign nation and its citizens are going to come within the jurisdiction or the territory of the other nation. That other nation, the parent nation or the parent country, has to issue a treaty mandate for those foreigners to come over there and do and conduct business and friendly relations with, which is called amity and commerce. So it's an order. It's not a contract.
That's important information. That is absolutely important. The reason I asked that question is because some are saying that the treaty's not really a treaty, it's a mandate. And you said it's a court order, which I agree with.
That's what a mandate is.
Well, a mandate is a court order.
Right, absolutely. We give them all the time. We give commands and mandates all the time because that's what the consular court does. And they are as valid and as enforceable and as any other sovereign court command. So that's why I was asking then really, and this is really good because I'm seeing some other things that I did not see previously in terms of since you're saying that the treaty is a court mandate, okay, then it's just as valid as any other court mandate that we give out with our seals on it. And more, that's why it's important for you to do justice on your own issues that you have going on in your life, because it's just as valid as that document that we have been told is a treaty, when in reality it's a court order. And he's absolutely right about it being a court order, because if you look at the first page of it, it says issued by the United States court or something like that. I pointed that out about a year ago, that it's a court order. If you go back through my Facebook page,
it's a court. Yes, it's an order. It's a mandate. Now, don't you know how foreign nationals, and when I say foreign nationals, I'm speaking of nationals of a foreign nation distance and jurisdiction. So like a foreign national of Russia, he will come over here on a visa by way of a mandate. In State Department, they don't call it treaty, they call it mandate. But the mandate is the treaty that the United States have with Russia. So as long as that national is over here within the territory, quote unquote, jurisdiction, because it's not no territory. The United States don't have any territories over here. But they come within the jurisdictional territory, which is the geographical boundaries, corporate boundaries of the United States, then the treaty has to be honored that they have with Russia. So that's why that Russian national is not subject to the color of law of the United States. So if there is any disputes, the consul, according to the treaty, the consuls, the Russian consul and the Russian ambassador and the Russian public minister would take jurisdiction over the Russian national and his effects, meaning his property and his estate.
Documents, all of that.
So it's always according. So the consular jurisdiction comes by way of the treaty. That's Article 20. That's where you get to issue your own, exercising consular jurisdiction over your own estate or your own affairs. You get to issue your own judgment by default via Article 20 of the treaty. It says, if a citizen of the United States or any person under his protection shall have any disputes, the consul shall decide between the parties. And if the consul shall require any aid or assistance from our government to enforce his decisions, it shall be immediately granted to him. So guess what? If we need aid or assistance from our government, and the government is two, you look at the back of the dollar bill, you'll see both seals. The Great Seal, which is the pyramid, and then you see the seal of the United States, which is on the right side. That's the two governments that became one by way of that treaty. Then let's just say, for example.
Okay, hold on for just a minute. Let me add a little clarity there. When we say United States, it's in all lowercase letters, and it has nothing to do with Albion's. They're a corporation. So we are the government, period. There is no other. We're the United States in all lowercase letters. There are many governments and nations in the Moorish nation, and that is the United States for America. That's what, because a corporation cannot be the United States for America. They cannot be that, because especially not in all lowercase letters. And that's why they changed it to of. Of means without. Okay, so they were a corporation without America, which is us. That's why they did that. So,
the United States, according to the Articles of Confederation, that was the charter that chartered the United States of America, which is in uppercase, lowercase, and it's not a nation. However, by way of the treaty, and Barack Obama spoke on this back in 2008, by way of the treaty, Morocco, the empire, the Moroccan empire. When you say Morocco, you're not talking about just the kingdom of Morocco. Of is a preposition that connects kingdom to something greater, which is Morocco, the empire. Yes.
The
so that's the preposition that's connecting the two. So when you say Morocco, you're saying the empire. Now, Morocco was the first nation that recognized the United States of America as a nation. However, they're a political body. They are not a nation. They came over here as companies and guilds, colonies.
Right. They're a society, actually. They're a society.
Absolutely. And
they're not a nation.
And it was our forefathers that chartered the United States of America. So that is the several states of the Union. Now, right now, they're not operating as that republic that our forefathers chartered for them. They're operating as a de facto corporation under Admiralty Maritime, which is fine because Admiralty Maritime, that's covered under Article 3, Section 2. So the Constitution still applies. Even they say, oh, you know, we're doing it under Admiralty Maritime in the middle of the water, high seas. Doesn't matter. Article 3, Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, laws of the United States, or and all treaties made or shall be made, and amity and maritime cases. So the constitutional principles still apply along with the treaty.
Yes,
So,
and when the Constitution says law and equity, it's still not talking about a corporation. Law is the Moors. Equity is Moorish court. Admiralty and equity are not the same. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Go ahead, Justice.
But even if it's a case in maritime and equity, maritime and admiralty. See what people, because I heard I had some guys that I knew that called themselves sovereign citizens until I corrected the language, because they didn't understand it at first. There's no such thing as sovereign citizen. You already spoke on that.
Right. Yeah.
So they said that, well, because it's an issue under amity and maritime, the Constitution doesn't apply. It does, because where are we? Are we in the middle of the water, or are we on the land?
We're on the land.
And what is the supreme law of the land?
The Moors.
The Constitution and the treaty.
Not the law of the seas.
Right.
That's correct.
It's the law of the land.
That is correct.
So even though you're walking in that supposed colorful courtroom, and then you pass the bar, now you're on the high seas. If you have your Moorish flag, that's
fly your colors.
Signal. Under Article 4, it says a signal or a flag shall be given to both parties by which they shall meet at sea. That's the Sea of Commerce, amity and maritime. You go in that courtroom, you're flying your colors. I already did it. You're flying your colors, and you're enforcing the supreme law of the land in that amity and maritime venue, which they're doing under color of law. And
yes, like we were saying earlier in the beginning of the call, we were saying that jurisdiction is us, so wherever we are, sovereign jurisdiction is there.
Absolutely correct.
We discourage, we don't suggest that Moors go to those venues because we know that we have our own venues. But if they find themselves in there, these are absolute tools that they can use. Go ahead, Justice.
Absolutely. Now, the only time, this from my experience, the only time that I did not go to the venue anymore is when I physically told them, and I had witnesses with me. I physically told them, or verbally told them on the record, I'm not making any more special appearances. You all have my jurisdictional challenge, and jurisdiction was improved. The one thing I didn't do, this was back in 2011, the one thing I didn't do was issue my notice of default judgment, which is the true test copy is on the website, enforcetheconstitution.org. And I told them I wasn't making any more special appearances. I even called them the day before the hearing to tell them I wasn't making any more special appearances. And then when the venue opened up and they called the case, I did not come, and they dismissed the case for lack of jurisdiction because what's standing? The default judgment. Because remember, court is the paperwork.
It absolutely is. That's absolutely.
Islam.
Absolutely.
So yes,
and
we do not. We got to stop going to these venues. You're absolutely right, because that's where we get kidnapped. However, if under duress we have to go, then we need to bring counsel and witnesses. That's the purpose of consular notification and access. That's the purpose of us doing consular court, because we're a nation. Look, put it like this. Let them do that to a Russian national or a Chinese national or a Korean national. You will see members and officials from their embassy in that court building.
Liaisons, everyone.
And that's great. That's great. That's great. Some of us, myself included, don't have a whole bunch of Moors around us. Not a whole bunch yet. We do, but they don't know who they are. And so even in that case, all we do is do our own court action. So if there was an action that was done by a corporation saying that we need to be there, since I don't, one of the reasons I don't go is because I don't have to go. We don't have to go. We have our own court. And so all I do is do a court action, and the court action tells them that they don't have jurisdiction. See, I don't even need them to tell me they don't have jurisdiction. I don't even challenge jurisdiction anymore because I know they can't prove it. the way that I assert jurisdiction is by doing a court action on whoever it is that's saying come to that court. I've done it several times.
Right.
And they don't
when
bother
you do
us.
that, and when you do that, and you have it filed in the record of that case, full faith and credit has to be given to your court order.
Absolutely,
That's
and it
why
always
they can't
is.
come and kidnap you. Yep,
That's
because
it.
this is what it's called. Yep, and this is what it's called. I can challenge anyone to call their courts, the courts in their territories, these tribunals, and ask them this: if a foreign nation issues a foreign judgment, right, from a foreign court to your court, how does it become domesticated so that it can be enforced within the several states of the Union under Article 4, Section 1? They're going to tell you it has to be filed and entered into the record. Once, because it's all, my default judgment, international document. Why? Because it's an international issue. Our nationality and their nationality, which equates to citizenship, is foreign.
Yes.
And we're not talking about distance, we're talking about jurisdiction, like you said, sister. So we are issuing court orders, judgments, commands, and when they file it in their record and enter it into their record, that's called becoming domesticated. And the domestication is shown by the file stamp and by the true test copy stamp. But even if it's just the file stamp, it's domesticated because there's a process that it goes through. It is sent to the court examiner as well as the acting administrative officer, the person that's calling themselves judge or judicial officer, but they're really an administrative officer. They review it to see
actually
if
administrative
it was done.
clerks.
Yeah, administrative clerks. They review it to see if what you did was by your right, if you had a right to do it, basically. And if you do, they're going to enter it into the record. The first thing they look at is that flag. And now it's
and the flag alone is going to tell them that they don't have the authority to judge whether we have the right. We're already telling them we have the right.
Absolutely right. Now, you have to be competent. See, sister, you're competent. That's why you can do that. There are more Americans out here that are filing paperwork and they're not competent. They know how to find out if you're competent or not. Because it's not just what the words say on the paper. It's how you stand on the square of the paper, the 90 degrees all the way around, and not going outside of it. And
where competence is concerned with regard to the papers, when the paperwork is competent, this is a suggestion, do your study more, as we always say. But when the paperwork is competent and you don't appear there because your paperwork did the special appearance, you don't even have to explain the paperwork.
Absolutely.
You explain it with your feet. Your feet not going there tells them that the paperwork is valid and that it's a command. It's an unrebutted affidavit.
Right. Now, but they will do this. There's tactics for that. And I've experienced it, and I've watched other people experience it. They will come and get, not all the time, because like I said, I've done it, and you said you've done it too, sister. I've done it in my D.C. case, and I've done it in my PG County case, not the one that I posted, but another one. I got a lot of cases. I only posted those two. Now, they will send someone, they'll do this. They'll sit outside your house. This is what they were doing all 2013. Well, they will sit outside your house. Yeah. And this is if you don't have people around you that are competent. They will sit outside your house.
Some people, let's just talk about what they did in your case, because they don't do that to the other Moors, and they came here for 3 weeks straight knocking on the door because they needed a contract, and because they didn't have a contract, they couldn't kick the door in. But so they don't do that kind of stuff regularly. But go ahead and tell them what happened in your case.
This didn't just happen in my case. This was happening around in the people in the D.C. territory, in the Montgomery County territory, and definitely in the Charles County territory, which is all the Maryland Republic territory. They will come to your house. They'll sit outside. Soon as you leave, they will contact one of their agents traveling, one of their highwaymen, and the highwayman will pull you over for a routine traffic stop. Once they arrest you, They're going to get you in, and then they're going to say, oh, by the way, in order for you to get bonded out on your personal recognizance or bonded out by way of a bail, you have to sign this special appearance. I mean, you have to sign this appearance bond. For this other case, that's one tactic on how they can get you in the contract and making a special appearance, a physical special appearance. And you have to watch for that. That's why consular affairs is so important even right now, especially with them controlling the narrative with the Black Lives Matter movement, getting our people to call themselves black.
They're not controlling our narrative though. And when we speak publicly, we control our narrative. We kind of nip that one in the bud, and we're gonna keep nipping it in the bud by continuing to speak out on the public record saying that we're not black. You know, we can control that part too. And when you mentioned them pulling people over, you said when they arrest you, they don't have to. You don't have to be arrested if they pull you over. You don't have to be arrested. You don't have to say anything to them. But you're saying if they arrest you. You're saying if they arrest you.
Wrong terminology. Kidnapping, and they know it's kidnapping. Because I'm not talking about the everyday. Yeah, I'm not talking about the everyday policeman that's just doing his duty as a policeman for the corporation. I'm talking about the ones that were sent. Right. I'm talking about the ones that were sent, that were specifically sent to get you.
They're all specifically sent. They're all
No. Hear me out. I'm talking about. I'm telling you from experience and from what I saw. I'm talking about the ones that are specifically sent. I'm talking the policemen that wanted to learn what I was, what I was showing and what Brother Taj Tariq Bey was showing, but they were scared because they didn't know if we liked them. And I talked to them. They said that there is a group within their department that is specifically geared toward kidnapping Moorish Americans in an event that they try to subvert.
Hold for just a moment. Let me stop you there with that spell. Task force. Let me stop you there with that spell right there. I'll stop the spell right here, because there is nothing. I don't care how many task forces that are supposedly put together. I'm standing here because of what I'm telling you. They can come all day long, but if they don't have if we don't have contracts with them. And we say this all the time. Now, I know that was your experience in 2013. I honor that. But these days, it's a little different. If we continue to keep those contracts terminated and not do contracts with them and speak by affidavit. I'm standing here today. I posted it out, photos of them on the property here with the flag right there, knocking, attempting to get a contract, and they pulled some stuff out there. But because I would not contract with them, and then I did a court action, okay, I had to do a court action because a higher court needed to tell them, don't come back here no more. 3 weeks straight they came and knocked on the door. And they knew that the sovereigns were here, so they couldn't kick the door in because there's sovereigns on the property. Okay? Now, they can't do anything that we don't consent to. That's right. They can't do anything that we don't consent to, so they're not going to pull nobody over.
In an event that they do, what I'm saying is you have to know the competency comes in knowing due process of law. So you have to know that they need if it's a search, they need a search warrant. If it's a seizure, they need a seizure warrant. This is the Fourth Amendment. If it's an arrest, they need an arrest warrant, because the Fourth Amendment protects your right of privacy. If you don't know that and you don't assert that, they will kidnap you, whether you call yourself a sovereign or not. They will do that.
You have to know specifically you have to know specifically which charges and obligations that they fall under when you're demonstrating that. You just can't just boastfully and arrogantly say you have no jurisdiction, because they have to challenge that, because this is the one thing that we all have to be considerate of. Even though that there has been a lot of colorable activity that has been enforced that has hindered us of having right of claim of our L and myself being a direct witness of this, when we went and took the journey to the Library of Congress. Now,
when was
they
that?
themselves,
When was that?
Brother Lamont, when was that? About October?
Yeah, 2019.
2019, October, we went there. Now, you need to realize, we all need to realize, that the only thing that is holding them up in even though that
your phone going up.
Islam, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. And you were saying the only thing that's holding them up is what?
Is the mandate of that treaty. Now, although what they have done.
Hold it. I have to stop you there. Because we know from firsthand experience that we're the reason that they cannot move. Now, sometimes the language, brother, sometimes the language is indicating that they can do things to us and catch us unaware. Okay, and that may happen to some occasionally, but with the information that's coming out now, because, you know, this is the Grand Rising, the information is there. When we terminate all corporate contracts and they pull someone over, they can't just break the window and arrest you. They can't. They know that. But
yeah,
in the past, people, hold on for just a minute. Let me finish. Because, see, there are some spells being cast here that I know has been your experience in the past, and we feel that. We feel you, brother. I feel that in the past some things have happened, okay? But right now, the way things are, we can already see, and we know by the fact that the policy enforcers are running for the hills, that the things that we're doing are working, okay, in terms of Moors knowing that they don't have any contracts with them, and if they don't have any contracts with them, they can't come and get you. They cannot, okay? They just can't. That's the law.
And when they do, that was the reason why they created the color of law system. No,
the color of law was only color of law because we weren't in our rightful place, but we're in our rightful place now.
Okay, can I continue to finish that dispensation so we can bring some clarity?
Give it a minute too, bro.
Yes. Now, just for the record, the position that you're stating, no one is even dismissing that off the platform. Everybody knows that. But at the same time, this is the consideration that I'm bringing as far as to a clarity for everyone. When Brother Lamont L. and myself took the journey to the Library of Congress, all right, now, when we were in there, what we had witnessed ourselves was the fact that they know who we are, but the only thing that is holding them in their position right now, even though that they have breached their obligation to supporting that treaty, is the mandate of that treaty existing. Now, what they are going to do, and this is what we were saying as far as nothing against the fact that in the event that there would be a quote-unquote task force operative that would come and deal with us, they're going to challenge
which has no authority, so we don't. That's pretty much not a.
Respectfully, we know that. We know that. No one's dismissing that. Everybody, and the fact it doesn't even have to be redundantly stated because we already know that. But what I'm saying is, they are going to challenge us to see if we are in honor. So they would come to you and say, okay, so by what authority can you make a statement like that? So now, when you know what their obligations are, i.e., according to treaty such and such and so, article so-and-so, subsection so-and-so, under United States Code so-and-so, under international law such and such, under the United Nations such and such so-and-so, it reads this. Under consular notification and access, it says this. See, they're going to challenge you even to see if you're competent enough to even stand on your own claim. It's not a matter of doing an arm wrestle match to see whereas, okay, well, you don't have the authority, you don't have the jurisdiction, because they themselves too, they would send even some of the servants that they have within their organizations may not sincerely be aware that there is a consular notification and access protocol that they're supposed to follow. But when you give them that,
that's no excuse.
Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, in the presence that ignorance exists, then you demonstrate the existence of that law. Yeah, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But when the ignorance is present, then how do you demonstrate the existence of that law that somebody is not yet aware of? So then this is where you start dealing with the demonstration.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're glad you're on the call, because that's why we're here. That's why we're here. We're going to get past that, all of that, the barriers that were there before in 2013 and the things that you all went through, which those things clearly have made you better, as does all testing for the errors. And that's why errors, we're not afraid of testing, and we don't get upset about being tested by policy enforcers and subjects, because the testing makes us better, sharper, stronger, faster, etc. We speak by affidavit. So we don't have to go down to anywhere into their venues or any of that stuff. Why go down there to their venues? Why? When our affidavits have spoken, this is a new day in terms of we don't have to do that. We don't have to do it. I'm glad that these brothers did that, because they paved the way so that we know that we don't have to do it. Okay? We don't have to go to those places. We don't have to go to their venues at all. And then with regard to being pulled over on the side of the road, because that's an important piece right there, because that's where a lot of the scary spells are cast. Okay? Let's talk about that cognitive dissonance that we get when we think about being pulled over on the side of the road and what our interaction is going to be. They won't even pull you over when you properly place a termination of corporate contracts on the public record. I'm standing here for that.
The treaty.
I have to go by my experiences, because that's, and the experiences of the Moors here on this call. Many of them are not being bothered because they terminated corporate contracts. And then when they do their demonstrations, their demonstrations are successful. Now, we do want to be, hold on just a moment, I'm getting a little bit of feedback there. However, we do want to fine-tune everything, and that's what you all are bringing, is some fine-tuning to what we're doing. That's what we need, fine-tuning. But the casting the scary spells about the booger man is going to pull you over on the side of the road. We're not worried about no booger man being over.
No, that's not. We're not trying to say that.
And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing. I'm not saying that that's what you're doing. Mac, if you'll stay muted, because it's causing a little bit of feedback, Mac base. I'm not saying that that's what you're doing. However, I want to be sure that the Moors who are on this call know that that's not something that they should be scared of. Okay, because I'm looking in the chat, and one of the heirs here said that they got pulled over on Sunday. They detained him, but had to let him go because he stood on his square. So we're not afraid of testing. We're not afraid of testing. In fact, when they test the Moors and we pass like that brother did, he stood on his square. They can't do anything with that. They have to let the Moors go. Okay, and then all he has to do is fine-tune what he did so that they won't even pull him over. And that's really what we started out on this call doing, is fine-tuning things like the domicile paperwork and the conveyance paperwork. Because when they pull you over, they're pulling you over a lot of times based on what's going on with the contracts on the conveyance. Okay. But then they start looking for other contracts at that point when they interact with the Moors, which I wouldn't even interact with,
interjection, to avoid that, if you notice, diplomats, foreign nationals, they travel, and what's on the front of their cars? Their flags. When you see them in their domiciles, what's in front of their domiciles? Their flags. So that's called a signal. Now, consular notification and access is how all of the civilized nations around the world have been operating, other than us, because our people were branded Negro, black, colored, which in law is civilly dead and stateless.
Yes.
So stateless means a person without a nationality or a nation. So the signal that we would be flying is the flag. So they wouldn't even pull you over or attempt to pull you over, because they know that as soon as they attempt to contract with you, the law of your flag governs that contract. So that we were only saying that to say that that was what we went through and experienced 2019 and in 2012 and 13 to bring us to the point where, okay, so this is the fruition of it. Fly your colors, fly your flag. When the brother got pulled over, I know everybody's seen this on YouTube. When the brother got pulled over in the Pennsylvania Republic territory, what did he throw out his window? His flag.
A flag. We saw it. We honor him too. As soon as we find out his appellation, we're going to send him something. He inspired so many of us. Islam.
That brother's in Tennessee, and I'm talking to him on the phone tonight. This is Tiger. I know him.
Islam, bro.
Justice Urimore, you were going to say something?
Yes, I do want to say something. I appreciate I appreciate greatly the information being shared right now. I will say that what Empress Light is saying is exactly what we do. And what you're saying with flying your flag, knowing who you are, knowing law, study, that is our counsel day and night to everyone. When someone gets into trouble, we work with it. We can't go get everybody out. We're not that yet. But when people study and know themselves, they don't get into trouble. Because the trouble is only when we don't do right. So, we're learning. We have learned and taken example from everyone, and we study law, and we're scientists. And so with those things in mind, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is really important. Fly your flag night and day. And know what your flag is, your signal, Islam.
And Islam and the treaty is what governs all foreign relations and intercourse with us, Moorish Americans, and citizens of the United States. Consular jurisdiction is exercised by way of the treaty. And that's what makes everything simple. That way we don't have to stand on our square when getting pulled over, because we know that as soon as they pull up behind us, they're going to see the flag. And they're going to also recognize that that vessel, which is the car, the automobile, the boat, the truck, no matter what vessel it is under a foreign jurisdiction. By way of
and let me just say this about that. Let me just say this about that. We got about 10 more minutes here. With regard to the conveyances, Moors, sovereign, universal, allodial title to these are things that Moors can generate and originate right where you are. Sovereign, allodial, original title. Sovereign, allodial, manufacturer certificates for origin, stating that the conveyance originated at your vast estate, which is the ancient Al-Moroccan Empire. That's where the conveyance originates, because that's where you say it originates. Your conveyance was not, quote unquote, born in the United States. It was born as a resource on your land. And that's what the manufacturer's affidavit of origin is all about, because we don't really do certificates, we do affidavits. And when you, and those two things, and then also you want to do, you want to have your Moorish plates, and then you want to also make sure that you have a termination of all corporate contracts on the public record, so that and notify everyone in the territory, all the policy enforcers, et cetera, if they're still there, because most of them are packing up and resigning and leaving, because the Moors are here. The real law enforcement has arrived. And so, and then fly your colors. Fly your colors, like these brothers said. Fly your colors, and do your demonstrations. And the demonstrations that happen on the side of the road are becoming fewer and fewer, simply because we know how to terminate the contracts that will allow them to pull us over. And any contract that you terminate, you need to create a sovereign, allodial, original replacement for it. That's key. That's very key. where insurance and things like that is concerned, you must still create an allodial insurance indemnis facier, because that's what we call it, indemnis facier. And what your indemnis facier can be about is you are the CEO of the insurance company already in all lowercase letters. So then you can tell whoever it is, whatever insurance company it is, that they're subject to you and you're not subject to them, and that you have created an allodial original indigenous, and it's not even a policy, it's a law. Indemnis facier law that says that if anything happens, that subject is going to do their job, because all companies are resources on the land of the Moors. They're all subject to us, and they all must do their job when it comes to Moorish American nationals. They have an obligation, like these brothers were saying. They have an obligation to do their job for us. Okay. So again,
Absolutely.
any contracts that are terminated, which all of them should be, you replace it with a sovereign universal allodial affidavit, and then you go on about your business and you do your demonstration, and make sure that each of the documents that you create are in red ink in all lowercase letters. Okay, because red ink is the land jurisdiction. Okay, we want to thank these two brothers for coming, and we invite you to come back at any time, Justice Lamont and the other brother's appellation, the other brother that was speaking.
Islam, sister.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. At any time, come back and share some more information about anything that you want to share about. Our lines are open. Empress Michelle, did you want to take a minute or two and do a little something, Empress Michelle, or you want to wait until next time? Empress Michelle,
can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll wait until next time. But what I would like for everybody to do is just to just study a little bit of the chakras, the 7 major chakras, and just look into the Om, universal sound of Om. And hopefully in our next meeting we'll do some work together.
Yes, on Sunday. Our next meeting is Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this same line here, an internet video channel. We'll be right back here on Sunday at 6. There's a little bit of an echo coming from somewhere. Go ahead, Justice.
It's probably me. Okay, my apologies.
Justice Lamont, I think.
It's Justice Malik. Good night, everyone. I just wanted to just go over the astrological energies very quickly. Probably take about like 2 minutes or anything. So let's talk about the June 21st solar eclipse in Cancer, 0 degrees, right?
There's a little bit of an echo. Can everyone start 6 so that the echo won't be there? Okay, go ahead, brother.
Okay. All right. So with this. Okay. All right. Could everyone start 6, please? Very quickly. Thank you. Okay, so the solar eclipses are new moons, right? So this represents the beginning of a new chapter, right? And this is in Cancer to reflect on our past experiences to advance in a more accurate, genuine way. Looking at the past in, a constructive tapping, in a constructive sense, and tapping into its intuition, basically looking within and analyzing our emotions in order to successfully launch ourselves in the space of long-term goals, achievement, and legacies. So we are sowing seeds at this time. Capricorn is relevant to this period, with many planets currently being in the energy of Capricorn, and Capricorn being Cancer's sister sign. Okay, so solar eclipses are really good for manifesting and starting something new, starting things, right? Very good for manifesting and starting things. Impatience is a key word since Mars will be squaring the new moon, so is Neptune, right? And this is all impatience and scattered, basically scatteredness, right? We'll feel this tension, to align with the highest frequency, and you know what? We'd have to go ahead and tap into our intuition to make sure that we're aligned with the highest frequency and center oneself, right? So this is about our intuition, mainly speaking, and, it's our calling. This is calling us towards our true path. So what our inner heart wants is basically what this is about as well. And the story you pick now will manifest itself over the course of 1 year. So we are uniting and coming closer with family, or, so-called family loved ones, and who we consider loved ones. Cancer deals with the mother archetype and grandmother archetype as well. So this is feminine energy, divine feminine energy. It's very calming, centered aura, and self-assurance energy will be there for the collective. All we have to do is just tap into it. So this is nurturing, nourishing, comfortable energy, and feeling secure, and a more positive energy for us, and is what this marks basically within the next 6 months. Okay? So if you haven't gotten anything from that, just tap into intuition. There's going to be an abundance of, nurturing, comforting energy there for us to tap into, and centered aura and calming divine feminine energy. All right? It's a great time to manifest and start things. And I will end on that. Islam.
Thank you so much, Justice Malik. I saw in the chat that Mercury, let me just read
Mercury
it out.
retrograde today also.
Yes, we can't forget that because, again, as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, renew, any words that have to do with such as retrograde, renew, revive, return, reversion of the state, all of that stuff is happening right now. This is the start of all of that. And that's why we want to spend the next few classes, sharing sessions rather, on rebirth, Islam. If you know of any other words, Morris, put it in the chat so we can read those out too, because those are great spells that we know we're casting on our nation and the things that we're doing. But the next few classes on the return and the reversion of the estate in terms of the resources, the sovereign resources. We've done some more overarching actions where the Moors are concerned, and we'll talk some more about that over the coming weeks. I'm going to do a couple of videos coming up soon as the ancestors lead me to discuss the overarching actions that we've taken so that all Moors can experience their estate the way they should. And then all we have to do, again, terminate the corporate contracts. Remember that the stars are in our favor. Remember that. Justice Malik, thank you so much, because that's what that is. The stars are in our favor, Morris. We cannot lose. So with that being said, thank you, Justice Malik, and again to Justice Lamont and to Justice Izil. Come back anytime and share information, because we want to hear from you and any of the other Moors who have done demonstrations, who've been doing things in the past that we can pull from and glean from and learn from and share with, etc. There was a court action tomorrow. Did someone have a court action? we want to make sure we get those announced.
Islam, I do have a court action. This is June 21st at 4 p.m. I'll go ahead and put the actual platform information in the chat. That's June 21st, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Islam.
And then mock court is tomorrow. Empress Malo, do you all want to say a little bit about the mock court and invite the Moors to come to the mock court tomorrow? Or Justice Jonaya? The information was? Yes, go ahead, Justice.
Yes, I have not gotten the information. The Malo was the one that mentioned the court action. And as soon as I get the information, I will post it and send it out.
Okay, she did put it in the chat, and I think I took a couple of photos of it. Justice Malo, are you there? If not, I can read what I have from the photos that I took of what she put in the chat. Okay, so for mock court tomorrow, the mock court starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday the 19th. That's tomorrow. The online meeting ID is freeconferencecall.com. It's going to be SCOON 712. So SCOON 712 is the online meeting ID. The dial-in number is 602-580-9810, and the access code is 409-1883, okay? Mock court tomorrow, so all Moors who have not done a court action, please attend the mock court so that you can ask questions and see how it goes and do a couple of mock actions yourself so that you can see how they go, because all Moors need to be pulling themselves up and doing their own court actions for the things that you have going on in your lives, because you all are justice. We are justice. We are the law. And the court actions are working like nothing I've ever seen. Islam, peace, and grand rising to the Moors. We'll see you on Sunday.
What's the number again?
The number is, let me see, 602-580-9810. The access code 409-1883. Islam, peace, and grand rising to the Moors.
And what time is it again?
Grand rising.
Grand rising.
Long live the empire.
Islam, Moors.
Peace and love. Grand rising, Moors.
Islam. Your business.
Time tomorrow.
Grand rising. Islam.
Grand rising.
What time is that tomorrow?
3 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Grand rising, Moors.
Yeah.
3 Eastern Standard
Grand rising and peace to all the Moors.
That's tomorrow, right?
I don't know. Is that 3 p.m. Central or
Peace and love. Grand rising. Peace and love. Peace and love.